The Realm. Do you know what the Realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 video. As you all know, the Night King and his army are basically just moments away from arriving at Winterfell for the biggest battle in Game of Thrones history. According to Daenerys Targaryen, she thinks the Night King has around 100,000 whites in his army. We also know he has several White Walkers and Giants in his army as well, but his most dangerous weapon has to be his dragon. Now that the Night King has his own dragon, he has the ability to kill large groups of soldiers within the matter of seconds. Now, although Daenerys Targaryen still has 2 dragons of her own, this creates a major issue for everyone at Winterfell. Stopping the Night King's dragon has to be one of their top priorities. Unfortunately, this will not be an easy task. Not only is it very hard to hit a moving target, but this moving target also happens to be incredibly fast. It almost seems as if the dragon became faster after the Night King resurrected it. They will also have to try to take down the dragon in the middle of the night when their visibility is at its lowest. So it should be very interesting to see how they kill Viserion. What kind of weapons do you need to kill this kind of a dragon? Thankfully, we now know exactly what kind of dragon Viserion is. For those of you that don't know, Viserion is a White Walker dragon. This was confirmed by the director of the Season 7 finale. He talked about this during an interview right after Season 7 had ended. You see, the Night King resurrected the dragon by physically touching it, just like we saw the Night King do when he turned one of Craster's sons into a White Walker. This means it will be even harder to kill Viserion because White Walkers are much harder to kill than your average White. Now, I know there are still many fans that do not know the difference between Whites and White Walkers. For those of you that don't know, the Whites make up the majority of the Night King's army. They are the dead soldiers the Night King resurrects by lifting up his arms, as we saw at Hardhome. These are basically his foot soldiers. Most of them look like any other dead soldier that has blue eyes, but some of them also look like skeletons, depending on how long they were dead. Now, we know the Whites can be killed by fire. This has been demonstrated ever since the very first season. We also know they can be killed by dragonglass. This is one of the reasons why Jon Snow needed so much dragonglass. That's because most of the Night King's army is made up of those whites. Now it also looks like you can kill whites by using Valyrian steel. It did seem like Jon was killing several whites by using Longclaw last season. So as you can see, at least in the television show, it's fairly easy to kill the Night King's whites. Now when it comes to White Walkers, it's not so easy to kill them. These are the Night King's soldiers that were created from Craster's sons. They look very different than the whites. Most of the White Walkers do ride on horses, and they have very noticeable long white hair down to their shoulders. They are also known to wear some body armor, very similar to what the Night King wears. They also have magical ice weapons like the Night King. Since the Night King did create them by physically touching them, they also have some extra powers of their own. The White Walkers also have the ability to raise the dead. This was revealed when Jon Snow killed a White Walker last season. When Jon Snow killed that White Walker, it also simultaneously killed all the whites that were traveling with him. Not only can White Walkers raise the dead, but they're also very strong and incredibly fast. They cannot be stopped with regular weapons. We have seen that they are able to shatter steel swords just by touching them. We have also seen just how much power they have. This White Walker was able to bitch slap Samwell Tarly into another dimension. Now the good thing is we do know how to kill the White Walkers. You can also kill White Walkers by using dragonglass weapons. We saw this when Samwell Tarly stabbed one right in the back. We also know that White Walkers can be killed by Valyrian steel. Jon Snow has demonstrated that several times. Now I do not think White Walkers can be killed by fire. When we see the Night King attack the Three-Eyed Raven's cave, we can see the Children of the Forest try to protect the entrance of the cave by using fire. That fire did stop the Whites. As you can see, they did not want to walk through the fire because it would have killed them, but it did not stop the Night King or the White Walkers. They were able to walk right through the fire. We have seen them do this many times. So, since Viserion is a dragon, and he is a White Walker dragon, you might not be able to kill him with fire either. Now, you might be able to kill him with dragon fire because, as we all know, dragon fire is much different than regular fire, but there is no way to know for sure until we see it put to the test. What we do know is you can kill White Walkers by using dragonglass and Valyrian steel. We see these two weapons work. So, since Viserion is a White Walker dragon, I am assuming you can kill him by using Dragonglass and Valyrian Steel too. The only problem is Viserion will most likely be flying around in the sky during most of the battle. We know they have Valyrian Steel swords and a bunch of Dragonglass daggers, but those are weapons you have to hold in your hand. They have to somehow get those weapons into the sky to hit the dragon. So how do they do this? Well, Game of Thrones may have already started to foreshadow this in some of the trailers, and maybe even in the first episode. In the first official trailer, we could see a mysterious character holding a bow and arrow. They never did show that character's face, but ever since that trailer came out, we have started to see several characters using bow and arrows again. We could see Arya Stark using a bow and arrow in the very first episode of the show. Then we saw her using it again when she was traveling with the Brotherhood Without Banners. Not only was she still training with that weapon, but she also got some tips from one of the greatest bowmen from the story, which is Angwai the Archer.
Pull the string back to the center of your chin and release. Never hold.
But I have to aim.
Never aim.
Never aim.
Your eye knows when it wants the arrow to go. Trust your eye.
He was trying to tell Arya how to become even more accurate with a bow. Then even as recently as last season, we heard Arya tell Sansa the story about her shooting the arrows when she was still a child. When the new trailer came out for the second episode, we could see Arya Stark holding a bow again. Maybe this is all leading up to a big moment, like someone taking down the Night King's dragon. Also, when Arya went to see Gendry in the Forge, we could see they were making Dragonglass arrowheads. Maybe those are the Dragonglass arrowheads that kill the dragon. Another thing we saw during that scene was Arya having Gendry make her a new weapon. Arya gave him a design for a weapon she wants him to have custom made. If you look at her sketch, you can see that weapon actually turns into two different weapons. It has a detachable Dragonglass dagger. This has made me wonder if Gendry knows how to turn that weapon into a projectile. The sketch doesn't have many details, but if that weapon is spring-loaded, then it might be able to shoot that Dragonglass dagger. Something I mentioned in a recent video was the weapon master for Game of Thrones who makes all their weapons said Arya's new weapon will be a showstopper. That made me think Arya has to do something crazy with that weapon. Since we have seen Whites and White Walkers get killed many times already, I do not think that was what he was referring to. For me, a showstopper would be getting to see someone take the dragon out of the sky or even killing the Night King. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what all that new weapon can actually do. Let's stick to the bow and arrows for now. So we already know Arya Stark may use a bow and arrow during the battle, but she isn't the only character we have seen holding that type of weapon. We have also seen Theon Greyjoy holding a bow and arrow this season as well. This was one of the weapons he took with him when he rescued his sister. Now in the books, Theon is missing several fingers from both of his hands, but I guess they aren't as bad in the show. I thought Theon may never be able to use a bow and arrow again, but it looks like he can use one just fine. Now some of you may or may not remember this, but Theon Greyjoy is actually an excellent marksman with that weapon. I would even say it's his weapon of choice.
The Iron Islands. Sigil, a kraken. Words we do not sow.
Lords?
The Greyjoys.
Famed for their skills at archery, navigation, and lovemaking.
Now that we know Theon Greyjoy is heading to Winterfell, maybe he can be the one that kills Viserion. Imagine if he was actually the one to do this. That would certainly gain the respect from some of the other characters. Killing that dragon will be instrumental in defeating the Night King. Now there is one other thing I do want to mention about Theon Greyjoy. As we all know, Theon basically held Bran Stark as his prisoner when he took Winterfell back in the second season. That eventually led to Winterfell burning and Bran Stark having to flee from the castle. Bran and Theon have not seen each other since then. It will be very interesting to see these two characters reunite after all this time. I think this could lead to Theon trying to do something for Bran, because he has to feel bad for what he had done. Although Theon has already did something for Sansa, it was Bran that had to witness Theon and his men start to kill other characters in service of House Stark. Theon taking Winterfell from Bran eventually led to the Starks completely losing control of their castle for a very long time. Now if you remember back in the first season, we saw Theon save Bran Stark's life by using his bow and arrow. I'm wondering if we can see Theon do something like that again just to kind of make up for taking a castle from Bran. Since this final season already has so many similarities to the first season, I could see something like that happening. As we all know, Theon should have died many different times, but they are keeping that character alive for some reason. Now it's the final season, and he's on his way to Winterfell right before the biggest battle in the show's history. This will be Theon's final moment to do something good in the eyes of the entire North. I think this has to mean that Theon steps up and does something pretty big. Now there is one other character we saw holding a bow this season. That would be Sir Bronn of the Blackwater. He was given the same crossbow that killed Tywin Lannister. We already have good reason to believe that Bronn will show up in Winterfell. After all, that's where Cersei's brothers are at. Qyburn said she wants her brothers dead, but I don't think Bronn will kill either one of them. However, he can still show up in time for the battle. We also already know that Bronn is very accurate with a weapon like that. We saw Bronn use a bow and arrow when he ignited the wildfire during the battle at Blackwater Bay. He is also the only other character we have seen hit a dragon besides the Night King. When Bronn shot the arrow at Drogon, he was basically using a giant crossbow. Maybe the next time he tries this, he can actually kill the Night King's dragon. As of right now, I would say these are the best options to killing Viserion. Now I know there are some other characters that are known to use a bow and arrow, but we don't know how many of them are coming back to Winterfell. However, we have already seen Arya, Theon, and Bronn have a bow this season. And there is also a good chance that all three of them are at Winterfell during that battle. I know that some of you said maybe Meera Reed can show up and use the bow and arrow, but there is no evidence of that happening as of right now. I just want to talk about characters we have already seen holding that weapon this season. There is something else we could see kill the dragon. During the trailer for the second episode, we could see there are some trebuchets at Winterfell. These weapons do have the ability to throw at a great distance. I think they could fill these up with razor-sharp dragon glass, then just keep launching them at the dragon over and over and over again. If you throw enough shit at the wall, eventually something will stick. Now of course, the simple answer might be the right answer. In order to kill the Night King's dragon, you might just have to use another dragon. I have always thought that made sense because of the dragon's names. Drogon is named after Khal Drogo, and Viserion is named after Viserys. Since we know that Khal Drogo killed Viserys back in the first season, then maybe we can see it happen again, only this time with the dragons. Drogo may be the one to kill Viserion. That would also be like another callback to the first season. The chances are this is how the Night King's dragon dies, but I do like some of those other options. Let me know how you think Viserion dies this season. Do you think it could be Arya Stark, Theon Greyjoy, Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, or maybe you have another option? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Anyways, I want to thank everyone for watching the video, I really appreciate that, and I also want to thank everyone on Patreon for supporting the channel. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.